we're just hours from this election,
Yeah.
and you chose to come to Colorado. That's obviously a big deal if you're running for president. Why Colorado this late? And what is it that you like about your chances here?
Well, I think the water lifts all boats. So I think people are going to be surprised, and I don't want to discount winning it outright. The Cubs did win the World Series, and no, nothing stranger has ever happened in our lifetimes. But why not Tuesday? And I do point out that 8 newspapers, major newspapers, have endorsed us. Today was the largest newspaper in South Carolina, Charleston paper, and summarizing all those editorials. Hey, these guys might not win, but you know what? 2 former Republican governors, they're talking about the issues. They are actually talking about the issues, and they've actually got ideas regarding the issues, and we happen to agree with them philosophically overall, and they weren't wallflowers as governors. They pushed the limits, and in states that were heavily Democratic, Massachusetts and New Mexico, they won re-election.
You said something that jumped out at me on stage, because you hear so much about these third-party votes. You're wasting your vote, right? But you said something what did you say around that? That you're not wasting your vote if you're voting for someone you care about, right?
Exactly, and wasting your vote is voting for Clinton or Trump. And look, you got to look in the mirror 20 days after this election, 2 years after this election, and you're going to remember how you voted. And if you vote for Johnson and Weld, I'm saying you're going to hold your head high. That's what I'm saying. That's the claim I'm making.
Do you think you should be doing better in the polls? Wouldn't this be the perfect year for a Libertarian candidate?
Well, or you can, I'm a glass half full guy, and I think we've really made a difference. Not being in the presidential debates, that makes you almost a non-participant because of the way that it's set up. I hope at a minimum that people recognize that the Presidential Debate Commission wears no clothes.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, guys.
All right. For those who may not know you, could you give a brief synopsis of your background?
Yeah, well, I've been an athlete my entire life, been an entrepreneur my entire life, former governor of New Mexico, which I think I served 2 very successful terms. I think that makes me uniquely qualified at this point, to actually do a really good job as President of the United States. I am fiscally conservative, small government, less taxes. I'm socially inclusive. I think that people should be able to make their own choices in their own lives, as long as those choices don't put other people in harm's way. I'm skeptical when it comes to our military interventions, when it comes to regime change. In my lifetime, I can't think of one single instance where regime change has turned out to be positive. And then I'm free market, opposite of crony capitalism. Crony capitalism, government picking winners and losers, free market, just the opposite, free market. More U.S. jobs, not less U.S. jobs.
You mentioned a couple things you would like to do in the first 100 days if you were president. What are those?
Well, it's a bunch of things, but it comes under the general heading of balancing the federal budget. And balancing the federal budget has everything to do with young people. Young people are getting screwed right now. I'm going to get my health care. I'm going to get my retirement. You're going to have to pay for it. Probably won't be around when you want it. I'm sending you off to fight these wars. They're not really wars. What are they? And then President Obama's Affordable Health Care Act. That's young, healthy people paying for older, not so healthy people. You're taking it at every turn.
And for those of us who vote for you in this election, what is it going to take afterwards? How can they stay involved?
Well, I do think this is the start of a movement. I really do believe it. I do believe that there are millions and millions of people who had no idea what libertarian was and have a good grasp of it now. And I see the Libertarian Party growing leaps and bounds beyond Tuesday. That's if we don't win. And like I say, Cubs won. Anything's possible.
What do you think is going to take for the Libertarian Party to break the 2-party system?
I think this may have done it. I think this is the unmasking of the 2-party system. When 28% of Americans are Democrats, when 26% are Republicans, 50% of voters right now, when they're going to register to vote, are registering as independent. Well, where is that representation? And there are only 3 candidates on the ballot in all 50 states. Maybe that should be a criteria for being in the presidential debates or receiving equal coverage.
And in light of this being for a Colorado Christian University audience, could you describe your background with faith, if you have one, if you don't, what it means to you?
Well, I grew up a Christian, grew up a Lutheran. I do live by the golden rule, doing unto others as I would have others do unto me. I've always told the truth. I'm not a hypocrite. I don't say one thing and do another, and I think that all has to do with my Christian upbringing. That was Cub Scouts, that was Boy Scouts with the church, that was Bible school, that was school, it all revolved, my upbringing all revolved around the church.
All right, thanks so much. Did you guys get your questions in?
Yeah, we just have a couple. We're from Colorado State University. There's a lot of followers that love you there. And you kept bringing up a lot of front burner, what those front burner issues are. What are a couple of those?
Well, it's balancing that federal budget. So it's Medicaid, it's Medicare, it's Social Security, it's military spending. Those are big issues. It's the fact that we have the highest incarceration rate of any country in the world. It's the war on drugs. It's just those things that I just mentioned are way beyond what Congress has even tried to scratch in the last 8 years.
Yeah, and then another question, since you've started your political career, what are you most proud of?
Just the fact that I have always done the right thing, and that really there's no sacred cows. There's no putting the issues that should be on the front burner. When I came out in 1999 supporting legalizing marijuana, 30% of Americans at that time supported legalizing marijuana. Who looks to be smart on that issue today when 58% of Americans believe in that? So it was always for me about doing the right thing, and I'm most proud about always doing the right thing. Best product, best service, lowest price, individual liberty, freedom. Do I really want to lock you up because you're smoking marijuana? Maybe I want to lock you up if you smoke marijuana, become impaired, and do harm to somebody. Then government's got a role. But look, taking the edge off of a day by consuming marijuana as opposed to having a couple of drinks, what's the difference?
Exactly. Just to wrap it up, because I know we all have other places.
No. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. What was like that moment that just you're like, I need to help people and I need to get involved in politics?
I've always lived my life believing that. I've always believed that this is a high calling, and I think I've had a good run. I really do. Two terms as governor of New Mexico, and in New Mexico, people really genuinely, they wave at me with all 5 fingers, not just one.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.